Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather, Devin Alexander, and whoever the fans want to see.
Yeah. Listen, I told you give them something visual, so you went ahead and made your own YouTube-based TV show. It's an array of IPAs and fighters on the road. Got a question? Put them in your comment section right below. Barbershop talk while you're sitting in your living room. Pacquiao, Mayweather, and we can't forget the brews. Coming to you live with the scoops like a ladle. Allow me to introduce the boxing round table. Yeah.
Rollo Jenkins, boxologist, Zone 6, Dre, BT Pound, 78 Fight News, Blood Boxing, Blood Fists, Boxing Beats and Rhymes, Female Boxing Fan, Carter J, Pull Counter, Joker Boxing, D Styles, the whole YTBC.
All right, man. Let me check the levels on this. It's been a little second since I went through the StreamYard. 1 second, let me check it. All right, yeah, we good to go. Okay, let me take this down a little bit and go on and get the cooking. All right, so as usual, I got some time just enjoying this Sunday, just a relaxing Sunday, good old spring break ahead on some things that I got to do for myself and just, kicking it in the leisure, right? So just making my rounds on social media, trying to hear all different kind of aspects and conversations to get this content and to push this content via YouTube. So, as it suggests in the title, let's talk about Jaron, Boots, Ennis, and Stanionis. So anybody could join if you want to give your take on my position, my perspective, the game of boxing. We're scheduled here to talk about Jaron Ennis, Stanionis, welterweight division, and David Benavidez. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards because this is a topic that I wanted to cover because it is a popular one, and it was something that I kind of skipped over prior to the Stanionis and Boots fight. And shout out to D-Style. D-Style had this conversation about David Benavidez and his elevation to the WBC champion on his channel. Me and the guys, shout out to Phil Walker. They may come over here and Big Hill, Wayne Talk, Rollo. These guys may show up. I'm not sure the link is there, but it's open for anybody, right? So I want to establish this with my position first about the David Benavidez situation. We always have a conversation about ducking and undisputed and what is this all about? What is this truly about? So I don't have a problem with David Benavidez being elevated to the WBC champion. Quite frankly, my personal opinion about the product that I participate in and the product that I buy, which is boxing and the support that I lend to these boxers in my leisure, I'm starting not to become a fan of Canelo. Okay. I always was a moderate fan of Canelo. I think he was solid. I think he was okay. I think he was getting the good fights and maintaining his reputation with having some solid fights. But a lot of his fights were kind of subpar, not for the result and not because it's Canelo, but Canelo, to me at this point, has completely ducked out of the fight with David Benavidez. That's just what I see. I wanted to see the fight with David Benavidez at 168. I didn't see where else Canelo had to go unless he was going to fight Bivol again in a rematch. And we kind of heard the talks about what was going to go down with that. Bivol said, hey, look, if we fight, I want to drop down to 68. And when we drop down to 68, I want to put all your titles on the line and I want to fight you. Somehow Canelo and Bivol didn't come to terms. I don't think Bivol wanted to concede to Canelo like most fighters do. I don't think Bivol thought Canelo was the A side to him in his own head. Although we do know Canelo is the cash cow of boxing. That's without a doubt, right? We can't disrespect Canelo in that regard. So that's not what's up for debate here, if that makes sense. So the truth of the matter is, though, Canelo has run his course on this cash cow-ism. A lot of his fights, we can say they're suspect. And I want you guys to hear me clearly. Canelo is an awesome fighter. Canelo is a Hall of Famer. But as sports fans, as boxing fans, we dig through the weeds, not to just pick on a boxer, but to put things in perspectives. Okay, we're mostly hardcore fans in the YouTube boxing community. And we go deeper and a little bit further than most other casual boxing fans. Okay? And Canelo's resume and record has been carefully crafted. Okay? When we talk about some of the fights like Amir Khan, why was that a fight? I get it. He fought Amir Khan, stopped him. It was what it was. He fought James Kirkland, overdue fight. James Kirkland coming off a drinking issue. That's not Canelo's problem. And Wolf was not allowed to be in the corner for whatever reasons, whatever they had going on there. Fighting Josecito Lopez, a projected fight with Victor Ortiz, those kind of fights that came to fruition or even was projected was just absolutely abysmal. Those weren't fights that people wanted to see. It's not that he don't have good fights. We had to see Lara chase him down. A lot of people don't remember those series events that took place. A lot of people wanted to see Lara versus Canelo. And Lara crashed the press conference and pressed the action. Most of us know that Lara is that guy. Lara tried to, get big fights at 154 all the way up to 160. That's what he does. So he pressed the issue, and he and Canelo end up getting into the fight. Most people feel like that Lara actually won that fight. We already know that he lost to Canelo. Canelo lost to Floyd Mayweather. And his resume, although it is solid, it is just not that thorough, right? It's not like he fought a prime Sugar Shane Mosley. It's not like he fought a prime Kermit Cintron and those guys like that. And I do get it. Paul Williams was a fight that was scheduled and it didn't come to fruition, right? That's respectable. And again, this is not to knock Canelo or to get on Canelo about anything or to trash Canelo, but it's just getting annoying. And I am frustrated with Canelo's boxing decisions as a person who purchased and participate in the product. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't have trust and faith in Canelo to make the right decisions per boxing, because he said out of his own mouth that he's at a point to where, hey, look, I want to do what I want to do. There's always somebody else. And I just don't like the professional boxer saying that the fans are picking on them and we're forcing him to fight the best fights and the fighters that we want to see. I never understood that principle. And I hate to bring up Muhammad Ali and compare these guys to those guys, but Muhammad Ali took on all the challenges. We've seen Trinidad take on all the challenges. Bernard Hopkins take on all the challenges. So taking on all the challenges is not a foreign concept. But this notion for Canelo to go ahead and opt out and say, which is his right, I want to do what I want to do and I want to fight who I want to fight, and then we get a Munguia fight and we get a Berlanga fight, okay? I'm not knocking those fights because you stated that you wanted to do what you wanted to do as a professional boxer. And that's all respectable and that's cool. No big deal, no big issue there. but I'm just not interested in those kind of fights. The fight that I want to see from Canelo is at 168 or would have been at 68 with David Benavidez. I don't know why that's such a difficult concept for Canelo to understand within his run to being Hall of Fame. I just don't understand what is the issue with David Benavidez, and it's starting to give duck vibes. And some people would even consider David Benavidez to have been ducked by Canelo at this point. Then some people do respond by saying, well, David Benavidez is not even at 168. Well, Canelo fights at 175 too. Canelo go between 168, 175, some kind of catch weight in between, and some kind of rehydration clause in between. Canelo really doesn't have a solidified weight class. Canelo has scaled up and down the weight classes with different variety of weight stipulations based on what fits his narrative and what's fitting for him, right? That's why the Benavidez fight haven't come to fruition, because, Canelo wants certain things or don't want certain things. That's why the Bivol rematch didn't happen, because Canelo wants to control people and what they do and how they come in to the ring. He also likes to control people's attitudes. From a recent interview, from what I heard, is that Canelo is not interested in fighting David Benavidez because he has an attitude about David Benavidez's approach. Like, so when I stack that up with a guy saying he's tired of people putting fighters on him, although this is his job now. That's like, to me, and this is an analogy. If you have a car washing business, a mobile detailing business, and people are asking you to wash their cars so that they can pay you for it, and then you're saying you don't want to do that and you got an attitude about it, I don't understand why are you in that particular business. So when I look at Canelo, if you're in the business of trying to be the best, why aren't you in the business of trying to be the best? Why do all of the opponents that you fight, there's significant flaws within those characters? Name full of resume, names on his resume full of names. Don't get it twisted. But when we evaluate those names and those opponents at the time that he fought them, it's lackluster. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Benavidez is going to enhance that, but it's just the same old pattern with Canelo, Cinnamon, Alvarez. And I don't know why we're not getting the David Benavidez fight outside of the fact that he's being mean to Canelo and he's saying mean things to Canelo en route to getting a fight. I don't understand why that a disqualifier in a game of boxing. Like, Canelo wants everybody to be respectful and praise him and give him these compliments in order to get a fight with him so he could control everything. Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand what Canelo's doing there. And I think Canelo uses that to duck in and out of fights, because him and Benavidez will be a great fight at 75 or 68. And I'm not understanding why Canelo don't want to take that fight. It just smells like, and it reeks of fear and ducking to me. Now, besides that, I'm absolutely happy with the direction that David Benavidez went in. David Benavidez had been elevated to the WBC champion. Now, I can understand some issue with that, right? That, some people don't feel like Bivol should have been stripped from his undisputed. I can see a point there. But I also understand that David Benavidez has been sitting and putting in his work. As we've seen, he's been fighting. He's fought Morrell like everybody has, and he's had an additional fight at light heavyweight. So Benavidez is putting in his work. He moved on from 68. Canelo didn't want to fight him, so he said he was going to move on and move up to 75, and that's what he did. Now, whether he's going to be successful and whether he's going to be able to beat these guys, that's for your interpretation. That's for your pick. I'm not knocking that. But David Benavidez is moving well. He put himself in position to fight Canelo, and then he moved up to 175 so that he can play with those big boys at 75, which is Petervia and Bivol. And now he's been elevated to championship status a lot of people are taken aback by that, and I don't have issue with that because Bivol, I like Bivol, and Bivol is undisputed. And okay, so is Baturi. Baturi is undisputed. He won the first fight. Bivol came back, won the second fight, and now we have this back and forth. I don't need to immediately see the third fight. Me personally, you know what I'm saying? I don't need to see the third fight. I think the two fights were good enough. I think we need to see Bivol versus Benavidez. I think that's a good fight. I don't know why. Well, I understand why Bivol wouldn't take it because he has an Bivol has some pride and he want to respect the verbal agreement that he and Baturi have had. But I'm not interested in that fight. Now I'm not saying it's not a good fight and it comes down to preference. But I just like the order of operations. Like you at 175, okay. You fighting Baturi, which was a delayed fight for some reason. This fight's supposed to have been happening. And you guys put in your work, you give us the fight. You lose the first one, you win the second one. And I think there was a little bit of separation in the second fight, in my opinion. Not saying that you can't have a third fight, but I just rather see the Benavidez fight. You know what I'm saying? I just rather see that. So I don't have a problem with them stripping Demetrius Bivol about that. And people feel different ways about it, but I prefer Bivol versus Canelo Alvarez or Bivol. I'm fine with that. So let me see. Davis 07, I'm gonna say this. Said facts 100. Canelo is ducking now. I hope Bud beats him and he go away from boxing because he makes it look bad. Okay, now to speak to that, I kind of agree with that. I'm picking Bud to beat him on the subject matter of Canelo, and I do think that he will come out with a decision. But Canelo's looking kind of weird to me. And this doesn't mean that Crawford's going to beat him. It just means that Canelo is moving in a way that's kind of funny. A lot of people thought that he was ducking Demetrius Andrade, which I don't agree with that, but a lot of people think and thought that he was ducking a lot of prime fighters and ducking and dodging, fighting Amir Khan and Josecito Lopez's and things of that nature. So I agree with that. Shout out to Hyplo. What's going on, Hyplo type? OG of the community. All right. And then now we got Mr. Jannard Hill, also Zone 6. Let's not forget Canelo stood next to Michael Boo, the former WBC cruiserweight champion, in a photo and was willing to fight him at 200 pounds. Shaking my head, you don't make this stuff up. I agree with you. You can't make this stuff up. I agree with you because he did say that to a degree when he was hot, and it is what it is. Hyplo says if Benavidez hasn't lost his belt twice by fucking up, or hadn't lost his belt twice by fucking up, Canelo would have had to see him by now. That's on Benavidez. You know what? I agree with that. But when does that excuse run out, Hyplo? You know what I'm saying? And anybody that's saying that, we do understand that Benavidez was playing with his nose and having weight problems. But since then, the guy's been on a real streak. I mean, so is he held in purgatory forever because he made some mistakes in the past that didn't necessarily net the fights that we want to see? And then I'm not sure if, does Canelo fight him? You feel me? Does Canelo still fight him? I'm not sure about that. Shout out to Red Glove Militant. All right. And then I see Hyplo in now. All right, so I just don't understand the concept of that. Like I do get it at first, when Canelo was doing his thing and unifying the division and becoming undisputed and fighting Caleb Plant. I definitely didn't have anything against that. I thought it was a good move. I think it was brilliant. I think it was awesome. And I think it was a good track. He was on a good trajectory. But I just don't believe, in my opinion, I just don't believe that Canelo has any interest in fighting David Benavidez. I'm not sure that even if David Benavidez had done what he needed to do, I'm not sure Canelo even takes that route. Maybe Canelo's not undisputed because he don't fight David Benavidez. Maybe he's just unified. And maybe we go back and forth on who's who. We probably arrive at the same situation. You know what I'm saying? And then Canelo did side his own mouth. He just truly believed that Benavidez hasn't done anything. That's what he says. Okay, just being real. All right, Hyplo says Canelo may be ducking, but Benavidez made it possible by fucking up. Now, again, I mean, the question is, okay, what's your opinion on Canelo? Is Canelo allowed to duck because of Benavidez or what? What's that all about? And again, the link is at the top. It's in the I'll put it back down here again so you guys can at least jump in and give me your opinion and get it on wax. You can also give me your opinion about the Terrence Crawford fight because I haven't talked to a lot of you guys in a minute. And what do you guys think about Jaron Boots Ennis versus Stanionis in the welterweight division? I'm just starting off backwards by talking about David Benavidez because he was elevated before the Stanionis fight, even though the Stanionis fight just happened last night. So I really just want to cook on the David Benavidez and give my thoughts on it about Canelo ducking him. And that I think it's a congratulations situation for David Benavidez. I like David Benavidez. I like what he's been doing for boxing, and I gotta applaud him. I just don't see anything wrong with what he's doing, any flaws or any issues or any problems, in my opinion. Now, when it comes down to Jaron Boots Ennis, I know he fought last night and he's unified now. He got to get that, but I'm just not impressed with Boots Ennis. He had a chance to fight Terrence Crawford and he kind of just decided not to. And I'm not a fan of that, if that makes sense. I'm not a fan of him ducking Crawford. And the welterweight division to me is just not that good. It's not that interesting. And I don't see too many major players down at welterweight to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm still watching Jaron Boots Ennis. He's a little sloppy, he's a little wild, but I ain't got no problem with Boots. I'm just not that interested in Boots, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. So again, those are my thoughts, man. If anybody want to jump on and give me their opinion, Hyplo, what's your thoughts? Red Glove, what's your thoughts on Jaron Boots Ennis versus Stanionis? What y'all think is next for him? David Benavidez elevated to the WBC champion. Is it fair that Bivol was stripped? Do you want to see Baturia and Bivol 3? Or would you like to see Benavidez versus Bivol? It's up to you. And while we're here, man, my boy Blood is jumping on as well too. Appreciate you, Blood, for joining me, man. What's your thoughts, man, OG?
Can you hear me good?
Man, you sound loud and clear.
Okay, man. My thoughts on last night's fight with Boots and Stanionis, man. I was surprised at how easy Boots Ennis beat Stanionis. Yes, I know he has a few technical flaws. His chin is kind of out there.
Your Blood, you cut out. Your Blood, we can't hear you. See, Blood, there you go. See, stealing internet again, man. You gotta stop that stealing cable stuff, man, down there in Florida, man. Nobody can hear what you're saying. we know, Blood. There you go, Blood. But as Blood connect back in and jump back in, I do kind of agree with the first statements he's saying about Jaron Ennis. The fight, it needed to happen. That's one thing. The fight needed to happen. That was a good fight. Very, very interesting. But here's the thing too. I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised at how well Boots performed against Stanionis. I think Stanionis was solid, but I don't think he was just that good, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I'm not impressed with any of the guys from 147 at the current moment. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Champ Boss? I see you, Bruce Gas. I see you, Blood. If you can jump back in, you can. We got you. Okay, Blood. Yeah, I told y'all Blood be stealing cable, man, from Florida. Okay, there you go. That sound like that's the Blood. There you go.
It's been pretty bad lately, man. The connection. I'm not sure if I'm going to go out again. But you know what I like about Boots, man? I like the fact that he utilizes that jab, man. He was throwing a nice hard jab out there, man. Stanionis. He can fight tall when he wants to fight tall. When he gets into the pocket, though, I think when he gets close range, man, he's kind of available there, man. If you get the right guy in there, Boots is really good at fighting at angles. He's got really good lateral movement, quick feet, fast reflexes. He hits with a lot of power. When he was in there, he was letting his hands go. Like a lot of these young fighters, they're scared to let their hands go. There's been certain fighters, even fighters who are known for having quick hands, like Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo and guys like that. They don't always let their hands go. And sometimes you kind of wonder, are these guys like really in their 20s, or are they trying to fight like old ass Floyd Mayweather? I like the fact that this guy goes in there. He gets these guys out of there. He wasn't able to get the Karen guy out of there because Karen was just the better fighter. A lot of these guys who were on the PBCs, such as Stanionis, these guys were overhyped and stuff like that. I don't want to totally shit on Stanionis. I think Boots was just the superior fighter to him. Yes, he does have a few flaws, but somebody's going to have to expose those flaws for the kid to get the point that he does have some flaws.
You know, Blood, it's hard to disagree with you. I agree with that 100% because it is their job to get in there and expose that and get in there and fight and make sure that it's apparent that these guys aren't what they say they are en route to being a champion yourself and creating your own legacy. I agree with that 100%. Hi, Play. I'm gonna pass it. Use open panel. What's your thoughts on Jaron, Boots, Ennis, and then also David Benavidez being elevated? Because I know me, you, and Blood are very heavy on like the lineage of the belts and elevation and it being properly done. So, what's your thoughts on that, Hyplo?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump on and clarify because I was commenting about the Benavidez situation. I do think Canelo doesn't want to fight Benavidez. I think he is kind of ducking Benavidez in a way, but I do think that's pretty much Benavidez's fault. He gave him every excuse not to fight him by not being active enough, not fighting great fighters, not taking chances when he could have. Like when he missed weight, they offered him a shot at Kovalev back then, and he said, hell no, bro. And he continued draining himself down, and then he got caught with the fucking cocaine, bro. So, like, if everybody knew that Canelo was going to move up to 168, right? So he was going to have to fight the champions because he wanted to get undisputed at 168. If Benavidez had just been a disciplined person and done his job, which we know, you say it all the time, making weight is your job, staying ready is your job. You're a professional boxer. All you got to do is box, and stay on point. And this guy fucking lost his belt twice, bro. So that gave Canelo, every reason to just skip over him and he got undisputed. Now the guy's at 175, says he's not interested anymore in a Canelo fight a couple times on wax. And, I don't know. He keeps crying about the Canelo fight. Just make your own way, bro. Go fight Kovalev or Beterbiev. I'm sorry, not Kovalev. Bivol or Beterbiev, and get your title there so he has to come see you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to cry for fucking Benavidez, bro. And then he doesn't fight often enough, bro. Look at him. He's getting older, and he doesn't have that many fights, dude. So, yeah, do I like his relentless style? He comes in there, wanting to win and hurt the opponent. I like that. There are things I like about him, but there's other things that I really don't like about him, and I don't agree with him getting elevated.
All right, Blood, what you think on the Benavidez situation, and we can rotate around on our opinions. So it seems that Hyplo is in disagreement with me to a degree. And what's your thoughts on the elevation of David Benavidez and the Canelo situation?
Man, we've talked about this shit for years, me, you, and Haplotype. As far as people just being elevated into a belt, I don't like that idea. I think that they should have set something up between him and whoever's supposed to be the next guy to at least fight for that belt. But the WBC, they're quick to move. They're feeling really fragile nowadays after what happened with Turkey Al Sheikh when he basically spit on the WBC belt, and Canelo Alvarez did as well. So I understand that they're trying to get in good with fighters like David Benavidez, but you got to make these guys fight for these belts, man. I understand that some people feel that David Benavidez is the top guy and should have got a shot. Like Haplotype said, he's had opportunities in the past and he wasn't always serious in the past, and he just has to take them as they come. Now, I think that Bivol did the right thing by choosing, because he had already said that they were going to participate in a trilogy. He already made that agreement with Beterbiev to fight in the trilogy. So why not just give the WBC belt up? It doesn't hold as much value as it used to, because the president himself, Suleiman, he's basically devalued his own belt, man, by giving away belts and doing things like that. Every time they do something like that, that takes away from the value of the belt. Once ago, you had to get in there and you had to earn that belt. I know that the WBC elevated Ken Norton, I believe, in 1977 or 78 that one time, but this is not something that they've done several times over the years. They need to get somebody to fight for these belts. I'm just going to leave it at that, man.
I agree. But I think for me with the Bivol and Beterbiev trilogy, I think personally I'm good on that. I do like the sentiment, and I'm not mad at that, and I do understand the guy got to keep his word. But I don't feel like a third fight is in order right now to me. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it could turn into a blockbuster trilogy. But from what I've seen, I think Beterbiev, and this is not an excuse, it's not an indictment on Beterbiev. Beterbiev is getting a little long in the tooth. He had the injury. He's 40 years old or about. He's breaking down a little bit. And then Bivol seemed to have separated himself a little bit in the second fight. The first fight was kind of close. And I just think Bivol is trending up to kind of put more distance between him and Beterbiev. But the issue is that I think that can wait. And what happened to the good old days where, okay, the trilogy is there, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and fight Benavidez, undefeated prime fighter from 168. They're supposed to be flawed and this, that, and the third. And like Bill, you said earlier, man, we got to see this materialize in the ring, because Benavidez could become a major player at light heavyweight, unbeknownst to us. I mean, now I'm not saying he will, because Bivol might beat him, and I would like to see that on his resume. You know what I'm saying? That would have been a hell of a defense for me. Defending undisputed against Benavidez, and seeing can Benavidez, usurp that undisputed title off of Bivol and put him in the mix. That's just what I think. What do y'all say to that?
I agree with you that Beterbiev is getting long in the tooth, but you have to also take into account that Beterbiev has conducted himself as a professional in his career. He had a great run with the 100% KO ratio, and only has ever lost to one guy, and that's Bivol, in a close fight twice. Both of those fights to me were very close, including the last one. And it's not like they're taking a long time between their rematches. They did that in fairly rapid succession, considering the modern day, purview of how fights could be a year apart sometimes. They did that shit fairly quickly, in my opinion, which I like. So I don't think Beterbiev should be moved out of that position for a guy like Benavidez, who has conducted his career in a shitty manner, in my opinion, and doesn't really deserve it, because he could have fought Beterbiev several years ago when he missed weight. The WBC offered him an immediate title shot with Beterbiev at 175, and he said no. So, in my opinion, they give it to they finish the trilogy as long as it's quickly finish the trilogy, and then give Benavidez a shot later. But now he's been elevated. You know, he's a 175 champion without ever winning a title at 175 in the ring. I don't like that.
If you agree to fight somebody, man to man, these guys just need to make it happen, because when Bivol came up on the losing end, he gave him another shot. He didn't try to hide in the politics or anything like that. Now it's time for Bivol to give Beterbiev the same chance that
I think blood cut off, but that was an excellent point too.
Yeah, and I'm with you guys. I'm just not. I'm not mad at it. And Blood, we hear you. As soon as you cut back in, you'll have a flow. We just want to make sure you're good to go. I'm just not a fan of necessarily the Benavidez fight not happening. I like Benavidez. I don't think that Benavidez have been moving wrong or doing anything wrong in quite some time. I think Benavidez is purely solid, in my opinion. I think I agree. In the past, have he made mistakes, and should he have conducted himself in a better manner? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely so. I can't disagree there. But my issue is that I think the Beterbiev fight can wait. Now I give you this. He could fight Beterbiev and then circle back around to fight David Benavidez. But I'm not.
Benavidez could have fought Beterbiev too a while ago.
When was that? I'm not sure.
When he missed weight and he lost his title the first time at 168, Jose Suleiman offered him an immediate title shot at 175 against Beterbiev, and he said no.
Okay. And so what does that mean now? I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I'm not.
That means to me that I don't usurp Beterbiev's chance at a rematch for Benavidez, because he may be conducting himself well at this particular moment. I still think he's not fighting enough for a guy his age who's hungry and calling himself the monster. He's not really active. So that's one fault I would still say that's on his jacket right now. But back in the day, not that long ago, we're talking a couple years ago, he could have had that title shot at 175, which is where he belonged all along. So I'm not going to take away Beterbiev's rematch to give it to him, because Beterbiev has conducted himself like a professional all along, bro.
I think we all agree that if we were going into a fight with someone, or let's just say we were competing with someone and someone beat us and then gave us another chance, I think we would feel the same way, that we would want to give them another opportunity as well. And they had already agreed to this verbally. Just be a man, dog, and just take this last fight, get it done with quick. Like Caplo said, they're closing these fights pretty quick. They're getting these things done. And then Benavidez should be next. But they've already elevated him to a WBC champion. And I still think that the winner should fight Benavidez. I personally think that Beterbiev is the harder fight for Benavidez, just the way they match up. Styles make fights, and I think that with Benavidez have also sparred Bivol over a period of time, he never sparred Beterbiev from what I heard. So that would probably be the better fight for Benavidez, the more intriguing one to me, in my opinion.
But see, and this is my thing. I guess Hunsi, I gotta agree with him when he's saying Bivol won both of the fights, right? And I can see that as a claim. I think the result was fine. I just don't feel like I need to see a third one, is what I'm saying. But I do acknowledge the honor part of it. Hey man, you gave your word. It does make sense. You guys are 1-1. Both of our belts was on the line. Let's run it back and get this wrapped up briefly. But my question is, here's the question. They fight for a third time. So they fight for a third time, and we get a definitive winner out of that. Now what? Do we go for a fourth, or what happens after that in you guys' opinion?
Well, that depends. If the definitive winner were to be Bivol, then you wouldn't need a fourth fight. But if the definitive winner was Beterbiev, then you might need a fourth fight.
See, and that's where I had a see. We can be wrapped up in this back and forth because these guys, we can be wrapped up in this situation for a minute. I mean, we could be realistically. Bruce Glass, what's up, man? What's your thoughts?
What's up? What's up, brothers?
What's up,
I
Bruce?
just,
How you doing,
I
man?
see, hi, Blood. How we doing, my man? Haplo, what's happening, man?
Salute up, bro.
See some good boxing talk. I see a welcome mat, so I figure I jump in and join the party over here. But as far as Bivol and Beterbiev goes, I think the a rematch is a trilogy rather is definitely in order. But you look throughout boxing history like we do, and you look at trilogies. A lot of the greatest trilogies around, like Ali and Frazier. Look how many fights there were between the trilogies. And look at damn. Look at Vinny Paz and Greg Haugen. They had all kind of fights in between where it kind of just drew the animosity or it increased the fans' demand. But I have no problem with a trilogy because Bivol wins, Bivol loses, he gets a rematch. Beterbiev lost, and he gets a rematch. And it's just the business of boxing today is different than it used to be. These guys don't go out and get a lot of fights. They're kind of afraid to get a loss, and it'll blow their multi-million-dollar trilogy. So it's boxing's in a different place today. But I have no problem with the trilogy. And as far as Benavidez goes, I think he should just keep on fighting and keep on winning. He's got that WBC title. I mean, we're in a world of belts. He can defend that, build up more of a demand for his services, and eventually he's going to be fighting in unifications and undisputed. He's young enough. He just has to stay active. I don't think he can complain about the trilogy going on because that's just the business of boxing, and that's where the money is right now. And that's about all I got to say on that fight.
That's a good point because trilogies are a big part of boxing, man. It's been going on forever, and sometimes there's a lot of distance in between the trilogies. But look at all the great trilogies we've had. We've had Ingemar Johansson. He fought Floyd Patterson 3 times. Griffith fought Barrett. You have Tony Zale and Rocky Graziano. They fought several times. That's on the movie, the Raging Bull. You could anybody who don't want to look at it, really, you could look at it there. Gonzalez and Michael Carbajal.
That's somebody up there like
Gotti. Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield.
We can go on and on.
Rivera, Morales, Joe Frazier, Ali. There's been so many.
And Blood, very, very seldom. If I can just cut you off for a second, very seldom will we see the trilogy happen. Boom, boom, boom. There's usually a lot of fights in between.
Yes, and some of the fighters lose steam. Some of them, keep more than the other fighters. That's why it's important to make these fights happen as soon as they can, and just let's get them done. Because if one of them, if they have a trilogy 2 years or 3 years later, it's not going to mean as much. Especially with Beterbiev's age, it's not going to mean as much. And then if David Benavidez comes in there and beats one of these guys up, then it's almost no point in even. We could have one, but it's not going to be the same, right? And usually, sometimes the third one is not as good, anyways. Like when Ali fought Frazier in that third fight, those guys were not what they used to be. They had fought guys in between and all that kind of stuff since the second fight, and man. So get the trilogy, get it over.
And there were also a lot of mitigating circumstances that caused those fights to be far apart. But also, just to counterpoint Bruce real quick, good point though that yes, in the past. We had great trilogies, and they had many fights in between sometimes. But in this era, these guys are fighting once or twice a year. So for us to get 2 fights in a trilogy in 1 year, like we did with Beterbiev and Bivol, that's a good thing in my opinion. It's better for me in this era if they fight him one after another, because it could be a year before we see another fight from these guys. Secondly, I would say that there are certain trilogies that suffered from the long lapses in between the third fights and the second fights. For instance, Duran versus Leonard. No one even talks about the third fight with Duran versus Leonard because it was so far after the fact that most people don't even remember that they fought 3 times. They just remember the first 2 fights. So, in my opinion, in this day and age, I think I agree that in the past, like the Thrilla Manila was a great fight. I agree with Blood that they were not the same in that fight, neither guy. But I think for this particular trilogy, I think it's better if they just get it done, get it over with now, and then move on and give Benavidez his shot. He could wait because he had his chance to fight Better Beef 2 years ago. So let him sit there and wait and do something.
So let me ask you this, Bruce. Do you need to see, or and it's for the whole panel? Do y'all need to see a Batervia Bivol 3 immediately?
It's not up for me, but I'll watch it. You know, I'll take it when it comes. I think they're really pushing for it because I think Turbiev is at that age where one more fight, 2 more fights, he gets injured and he's retired. So I think they're really trying to push that to happen now.
Okay. And how do y'all see the fight playing out in the third one? Y'all think Bivol separates itself, or Batervia come in here and kind of stop the Bivol train?
Nah, Bivol's gonna beat him again, man. He has a high ring IQ. He's a very intelligent boxer. Once he figures somebody out, man, that's pretty much a wrap. Beterbiev, that's just a bad matchup for him at this point. I think Beterbiev would have more success against some of the other guys that are in that weight class. But I think it's necessary it happens sooner than later because of the age of more so Beterbiev. Bivol ain't very young himself. He was mid-30s. But Beterbiev is getting a little up there. So let's get it done and over with. And not only that, it's refreshing to have 3 fights, a trilogy to happen so soon, one that's not pushed out over 6 or 7 years. Just get it over with. And this guy, Turkey Al-Ashik, he ain't no joke. He'll get this shit sealed and delivered.
Yeah, he is. He getting it sealed and delivered. That is true. And last night fight too, to circle back around, especially Bruce Gas and stuff like that. What do you guys think about the Boots' performance against Stanionis at 147?
I just thought that Boots came in as a monster. He got around that IBF rehydration clause, and I mean he looked like a super middleweight in that ring. And Stanionis, he just looked like he looked like a welterweight. He was beat up, man. It was a beatdown. He couldn't stop Boots. He didn't have anything to keep Boots off him. And Boots is just so talented, and he had the okay to rehydrate as much as he wants to. Very, very dangerous person. I don't think he's going to hang around at welterweight. I think too much draining on his body is going to affect him. I think he's going to see really, really good fights at 154. Him and Virgil Ortiz. I've been screaming for that fight for years. I mean, any of the 154 pounders would be great. Can you imagine him with Charlo, or him with Tim Tszyu, or the Bakabara, whatever his name is, man? I mean, I think that's where the money is, and that's where the action fights are. As far as welterweight goes, Norman Jr., it might happen, but I don't think it will. I think he's better off moving up because Boots Ennis is an elite fighter at any weight, but I don't think his future is at welterweight.
A lot of people are talking about this fight with this kid, Norman Jr., and I'm going to be honest with you guys, man. I don't even mind saying this. I've never seen Norman Jr. fight in my life. I heard he's a southpaw and that he can provide some problems for Boots Ennis. He's another young fighter. He's got a belt. He's undefeated. Maybe this is an intriguing fight for him to fight that guy from Georgia, man. I've never seen the guy fight, though. So you guys can tell me if this guy's worth a fight.
Yeah, he's a real deal, Blood. He's very talented. He's really cocky, though. I notice when he knocks somebody out, he likes to raise his hands, he likes to do the Ali in front of him. He likes to really, put on a show. But he didn't do it in his last fight. I think he's maturing a little bit, but very, very talented. And his father is like a Bill Haney. His father's on every YouTube channel screaming for a fight with Boots Ennis. It might happen just out of the animosity they had with each other, because he was supposed to get a fight with Ennis, and he supposedly turned down $2 million. I mean, there's a lot of verbal stuff going on. And Norman Jr. is good, but I don't think he's going to beat Ennis, but it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, as far as my opinion on the Boots win, that was a good win. He did a great job. He did, excellent in that fight. But as far as I'm concerned, his welterweight career, and I'm not trying to be, negative Nancy or anything, but his welterweight career has been so. He just doesn't have the names. He's got, the Avanesians and the Karens and so I don't know. I think he needs to, if he's going to move up, he needs to make his mark at 154 because he didn't really get it. He didn't really get the opportunity at 147 with the big names. He just came in a little too late to get, the Pacquiaos, the Thurmans, the Spences, the Crawfords. So he didn't get it there. Maybe he can get it at 154, but he's a talented fighter and he did a good job last night.
The most important thing to me in this whole equation is if he continues to stay at welterweight, will this hurt his performance by him draining himself? I mean, this stuff could eventually take a toll on him, zap some of his energy. Maybe it's better for him to go up to 154. And if this Norman kid is so good, maybe he could take over at 147 and then move up to 154 and fight Booth in some super fight down the line. I mean, they'll be doing this with purpose. It's not even a marination. I think that if he's not comfortable and he's training himself at 147, then he needs to move up.
Agreed. Agreed. Hey, and then let me ask y'all this before we wrap. I'm trying to keep them tight, nice, and concise. About an hour. Get all the heavy hitters in here, man, and rotate it around. My question is this too. That's what we think about Jaron, and that's what we think about David Benavidez. Now, a popular topic has been did Canelo, in you guys' opinion, kind of shade or induct David Benavidez? Now I know Hyplo, you were saying that he had past transgressions, right? But Bruce and Blood, what do you guys think about that at 68? Should he have fought Benavidez? Was there some duckage there, or was Canelo well within his right to not really fight Benavidez?
Well, I think he should fight him, but he just doesn't want to. And there's no way that anybody's going to make that fight happen. It's all in Canelo's hands. He's got something against Benavidez. I think they might have said something. Might have called him out on his manhood or whatever. Not fighting him back at when Benavidez lost his belt and wanted to come back and get it. And I think Benavidez has matured a lot too. He's gotten married. He's had a kid. He's moved away from Arizona. I think he's living in Seattle or somewhere like that now. But I just don't think Canelo wants to fight him, and he gets away with it. He's got that right, so I don't think we're going to see that fight happen.
Morally, he should have fought him because a lot of people were calling for the fight. People knew that Benavidez was definitely a bigger threat than some of the other names Canelo chose to fight. So there's going to be people who are going to feel that Canelo ducked Benavidez regardless because Benavidez has been at that upper echelon over at 168 for quite some time. So the fight should have happened somewhere within the last 3 years. So, it should have happened, but then you have to look at Canelo's situation. Canelo, he is the cash cow. And when it comes to these guys around here, he's the cash cow. Is he the face of boxing? That depends on who you ask. But I don't think that none of us will disagree with the cash cow. And he does bring life-changing opportunities. Other fighters could fight him, and people will still pay to see the fight. And I just think he was just headed in a different direction. He's not obligated, though, to make himself available for Benavidez's legacy because Canelo's already did his thing. So at this point, he has reached that point to where it's an option. When these guys get a little older, they could take fights at novelty and they could do all that kind of stuff. So it's really up to Canelo. There's going to be people who's going to feel he should have did it, though, because Benavidez has been up in that upper level when it comes to the 168-pound fighters.
I wanted to clarify one thing. I think that at a point there, you could say that Canelo was ducking Benavidez after he got undisputed and Benavidez beat Caleb Plant. you could say that Morrell or Benavidez was the first mandatory. Now, Morrell was the mandatory first because he held on to his title, but then Benavidez he became the mandatory again. At that point, you could say he ducked him, but he did fight other number one contenders at that time. So yeah, he probably did duck him at a certain point, but Benavidez, to me, it's his fault because he could have made it where it was impossible for Canelo not to fight him, and he didn't do it. So yes, I think both things are true. Canelo did duck him at a certain point, but Benavidez made that possible.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think Canelo got a little ridiculous with the cachet, right? I gotta lean into when a person says stuff out of their mouth. And the conversation with Canelo has been just, I don't want to fight him because he's done nothing. I don't want to fight him because he's disrespectful. So, and Crawford does something that's telling about Canelo. I noticed that Canelo kind of employed this tactic against Lara. You know, remember Lara kind of had to like jump up on a podium and challenge the guy and put like pressure on him. Yep. He was doing the same kind of like, no, I don't want to fight this guy. This guy's style is not a good style for me. And he's disrespectful. And Lara pressed the button and just jumped on the stage and was like, we don't want to hear that no more. Yeah, I am pressing you. And we end up getting a fight. Canelo got this thing, and Crawford is playing the game well. Like, I noticed they'll ask Terrence Crawford questions that he finds ridiculous. Like, man, ain't no fucking Amir Khan. And then I noticed that he'll catch himself and be like, okay, yeah, man, Canelo's good. Canelo's good. And then they ask Crawford, why do you think Benavidez didn't get the fight? And he says, man, Canelo is one of those guys that, you know, if you disrespect him, you know, that's just what he thinks. So I don't know what Canelo got this, you have to kiss his ass attitude from, and you have to be extra nice and praiseworthy of him. But I don't think so. You're a drug cheat. You don't have that kind of integrity to be going around making demands of people. You're supposed to be fighting the best. Like, dude shouldn't have to bow down to you to get a fight to attempt to be great. Like, I'm starting not to like that about Canelo.
Well, he just feels as though he's given them a life-changing opportunity. He's the one who's providing for them, so they should be respectful, which I don't recall any fighters from the past caring much about being respectful to each other. So this is something that this new sensitive population that we're living in, he's a product of that too. You have to remember he's a product of a different time period. You know, things have changed even in Mexico. The way these fighters are handled, and when you're a top tier fighter like that, you know, this guy's gotten all kind of. Remember what he went through with the WBC, where they were basically kissing his ass, and he told them to fuck off. The fighters back in the day couldn't have done that shit. Carlos Monzon, he fell out with the WBC, and they went and they stripped him and gave Rodrigo Valdez their opportunity and stuff like that. So they had a little bit more power back then. They don't have the same kind of power that they used to have in the sanctioning bodies and stuff like that. Canelo is treated a lot different than fighters from the past. I think he just feels like, hey, I'm giving you a payday. You need to respect me, which I don't agree with that, but that's just the way the man feels, man. Because he brought it up in the lower fight too about being disrespectful. And I've heard him say this 2 or 3 different times.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he said it to Charlo too. He said, I'm giving him a chance. But even though he's been disrespectful, I'm still giving him a chance. But he brought it up, though.
He did it with Andrade. Andrade was at ringside. He had the T-shirt on that he made. Canelo's a duck, and his father was there. Canelo, shut up, get the fuck out of here, Remember that was.
Yeah, he seems like he's learning that part of the English language very well.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final thoughts, real quick, man. And Hyper, I'm gonna let you close it out and rotate it around. Briefly, we're gonna get more into this with the Terrence Crawford and Canelo fight itself. All right. What's your pre-fight thoughts, early pre-fight thoughts, Hyper, on Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez?
I like the fight. I understand that, certain people would prefer to see Canelo fight Benavidez or somebody else. But it reminds me a lot of the Hagler Leonard fight. Um, you got Crawford, who's been on a long layoff, coming up to, several divisions to fight Canelo. He's got a lot of skill. He's probably the most skillful guy in the sport, in my opinion, just based on pure talent. And then you've got Canelo, who's this also talented guy who's been running through divisions and shit. So, I mean, I'm excited. I want to see it. I think it's going to be a big spectacle. Will it be a good fight? I guess we'll have to see. How will Crawford carry that weight if it's at 168? I don't know if it's going to be a catch weight or not. I know some people think it won't be, but I have a feeling there might be some kind of stipulation there. But how will he carry his speed and power up to that division? We don't know. Just kind of like how we didn't know with Leonard. So I'm excited. I like it. I'm excited about it. I want to see it.
All right, man. Where can they find you at Hype Low?
Just my YouTube. They can't really find me. I took my channel down.
Okay, all right. So you'll be lurking around the panels and stuff
Just
like that.
find me on your local comment section.
Okay, no doubt. All
Hey,
right.
this is going to be easy for me to. Bruce will go last. I'm going to tell you, man, that at this point, I'm not really feeling the Canelo Crawford fight because Canelo has another fight in front of him right now. After that fight, and I see how Canelo does in this next fight, I'll probably get into the mode of Crawford versus Canelo then. But as of right now, I haven't been putting too much thought into it, other than I think Crawford has a chance. But after, let's see how Canelo does in this next fight, see what the buildup looks like a little bit, and then I'll be able to give you more on that.
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense. It's early though. It's early. Bruce Gas, take us on. What you got on the OG?
What I see right now, I think Canelo is just a bigger. I don't think Crawford looked so good at 154 when he fought whatever his name is, the Eastern European fighter. And I just think the size is going to be a difference. I think it'll be there'll be some good fighting for 6-7 rounds. But I think Crawford is going to start feeling the 168-pound punches like he's never felt before. I think if he thinks sparring with Steve Nelson is like sparring with Canelo, I think it's a whole different horse in there. But right now, I think Canelo is just going to overwhelm him with his strength and his size. That's how I see it today.
All right, man. You heard the panel and their thoughts, and I agree with most of that. It is still early pre-fight thoughts. I think Crawford can pull the UD out of it. It depends on what Crawford does, and like Blood says, you do gotta watch the fight that Canelo has coming up to see if there any slippage. And we'll go from there and stuff like that. So
I do think that Crawford's going to have to use his legs a lot against Canelo, though, because Canelo is the bigger fighter. He's used to fighting at the higher weight. If you listen to one of these over-the-top Crawford fans, I've heard them say things like, "Oh, he's just as big as Canelo, and he's just as strong. He wrestles, my bro, and this and that." But that don't have anything to do with boxing. Wrestling and boxing are two different sports. And how do we know that he's as strong as Canelo and all of that? All I know is that Canelo has fought the bigger guys for longer. He's always been at that weight. He knows how to carry that weight. I don't know that about the 38, soon to be 38-year-old Terrence. Is he going to have the legs to do some of the things that Laura and Mayweather and Trout were able to do? If he could take Canelo's power and he's got his legs up under him, I think he could win a unanimous decision.
okay, all right, man. I'm let Tony do a run through of everything, man, and then we're gonna close it down, and we'll be back soon with another topic. So, what's your thought process, Tony, on Jaron Ennis, Benavidez being elevated, and a potential Terrence Crawford Canelo fight?
Okay, real quick rundown. I thought Stanionis did exactly what he needed to do to make Boots look good. I was saying before the fight, if Stanionis went to the pocket, was a pressure fighter like he's done about 85% of his fights, he make it an easy night for Boots, and that's what he did. Instead of him being the in and out pocket fighter like we've seen him do very little times, he didn't make it hard for Boots, and he wasn't going to beat Boots in the pocket because he don't have the firepower. So I was saying that the fight's going to be as hard as Stanionis made it, and he made it very easy for Boots. So, I mean, I thought Boots was going to win ultimately no matter what. As far as Benavidez, it just proves what I've always been saying. Beeble's a duck. Beeble's always been a duck. He ducked Arthur Beterbiev for years. He could have fought him 5 years ago, didn't want it. Could have fought him 3 years ago, didn't want it. There's been several times when he could have unified, didn't try to unify. He waited till Beterbiev got 39 years old, then all of a sudden wanted to fight him. Fact of the matter is, this is just showing what I said all along about Beeble. He's a duck. He doesn't want to fight a real threat. And David Benavidez is a real threat, and that's why he let go of the belt. Because I highly doubt there's even going to be a trilogy with Arthur Beterbiev, because Beterbiev said at the end of the rematch with Beeble, he said, I didn't even want this fight when they asked him if he'd do a trilogy. So that tells you he already had one foot out the door. So I think Beterbiev's probably retired, but time will tell. We will see. And as far as Crawford-Canelo goes, it's a ridiculous fight. Crawford's going to get beat up. It's not going to be a hard fight for Canelo. Maybe the first couple of rounds when it's a cat and mouse. But eventually, Canelo's going to catch him. He's going to clear off the ring. He's going to beat him up. Crawford's... Here's what I say about fighters. The Manny Pacquiao's, the Floyd Mayweathers, the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Roy Jones Jr.'s, and I could go on and on forever with fighters, right? You really see how good they are when they go up in weight. Eventually, most fighters meet their cap. Right? We saw Crawford's cap at 154. He's a 4-weight class fighter. That's great. That's GOAT status. But beyond 4 weight classes, he cannot be successful. He knows he can't be successful. And let me run it back real fast. Israel Masvidal only had 11 fights, 11 professional fights. He had only won 12 rounds one time before he got in with the quote-unquote number one power fighter. And Crawford went life or death in that fight. What I mean by life or death is life or death in a win, because I thought it was a draw. I didn't think either guy won. And we just watched Virgil Ortiz, who only went up 1 weight class to 154, and he completely ragdolled Israel. Israel's not even good. He's not good. And I don't think Crawford could survive the gauntlet at 154, let alone go to 168. And Crawford already said it. He said, nah, I ain't trying to fight Benavidez. I ain't trying to fight them other guys at 168 because he know he can't win. He's just trying to cash out, which everybody should cash out, but do believe that this is a severance check and he's just selling his own. I don't believe that he believes that he can win this fight, because if he did, he would be open to fight other people at 168. The reason why he's taking a over 1 year layoff is because he knows even at 168, a potential trash can could beat him. Because a guy with only 11 fights damn near beat him at 154. So that's how I see it. I think it's a cash out fight. That's the quickest I can run down all 3 topics. And yeah, welcome back.
Oh yeah, we got something for you. I can't wait. I'm glad you're back, because we're gonna have a specific conversation dedicated to Crawford and Canelo. And right now we just doing this one just to get the momentum going. And when we get done with this Canelo fight, we're going to pick up on that topic and stuff like that, and about what Canelo is and truly ain't, and everybody's opinion from there. So, man, I appreciate y'all for joining me, man. Staying tuned for the next one. And we're going to keep cooking, man. Shout out to Tony Reviews, Hype Low Blood, Bruce. Where can they find y'all at, fellas?
Blood Boxing for me over at YouTube.
I'm very inactive, so it don't even matter right now.
yeah, I got you. I know what you're saying, but
It's Jazz, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Trivia contest. We give away gummies. And if you want to hear what I got to say, sub to me and check it out.
all right, fellas, until the next one. So get these guys, they go ahead and do their thing, man. And look, we finna wrap up, man. It was a good time talking to Blood them as usual. Good time talking to Hype Low. But this is the end of the show. Trying to keep it concise and precise and nice and clean for about an hour and get everybody in here, keep it consistent. And in the next topic, we're going to bring up some different stuff. You know, we kind of hit all things from culture to sports and what's going on in sports. But we're going to bring you guys another one, because one of the biggest, hottest thing is the potential fight between Canelo Alvarez and the potential fight between Terrence Crawford. And people have mixed reviews on that, especially Tony. Tony got a good perspective and an interesting perspective on it. So, all right, it's your boy Zone 6 coming at you with another video. I'm out, man. Y'all have a good Sunday.
The whole YTBC.